Welcome to another episode of Thinking Like a Bank, where we show you how to think like a bank by applying the same strategies and principles that banks use to help you find more financial freedom in your life. I'm your host, Sari Ibrahim. Thanks for tuning into episode 120 of Thinking Like a Bank podcast. On today's episode, I'm interviewing Omar Younis. Omar is an attorney in Chicago who focuses on real estate transactions, commercial and residential property tax appeals, and corporate transactions. Omar's law office averages more than 200 closings a year and are growing rapidly. His team has represented all types of property owners from residential to multi-unit commercial, both on the buying and selling side. Tune into this episode to learn more about Omar's legal background, what to consider before closing on a real estate property, the recent NAR settlement, and what it means for realtors, and how you can reduce property taxes for your residential and or commercial property. To connect with Omar, please visit eunislawgroup.com. So welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Sadi? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. I've done about 300 podcasts, but this is the first one in person. So this is going to be interesting.
Okay.
All the other podcasts I've done have been on Zoom. So glad that you're here. I know we're going to talk about real estate, the NAR settlement, some other parts of real estate. But before we get into that, tell us more about your background and what you do.
So my name is Omar Younis. I'm an attorney. My office is out of Palos Heights, Chicago metro area. We also have a satellite office in the city, downtown. I practice mainly real estate transactions, property tax appeals, and some corporate work, purchase and sale of businesses, and been doing that for now about 6 years. So, yeah.
And then you do this as your own business owner, right? You're self-employed. Right. Now, tell us more about that journey. So you could have worked as an associate, right, at a law firm, but instead you chose to start your own law firm. Tell us more about that journey.
So, yeah, I mean, when I was in law school, I never thought I'd be right out of school doing my own thing. And it just kind of happened that way. And so when I graduated in 2018. And I think I got licensed in November 2018. And I had interviewed at a few places and a few law firms, and I was honestly like, I interviewed at places and they wanted me to do work that I didn't want to do, like HOA collection work. And I was like, this isn't for me. And then I remember one thing that really triggered me was I interviewed at a small attorney's office in Palos Hills, I think. And I never forget that day. I walk in there and he interviewed me, and I had no work, right? I was just like, I need a job. Mm-hmm. I go into his office. I had already established my website from Younis Law Group, my firm. And I go in there and he's like, yeah, if I give you a job, I'll pay you 40 G's. I think I was trying to squeeze him to 50 G's a year.
Yeah.
And he had saw my website. And he's like, okay, what we're gonna do, and he's been a lawyer for like 30 years.
Okay.
And maybe 20, maybe not 30. But he goes on, he looks at my website. He doesn't even have a website. He looks at my website that I created from scratch. I think it was like Squarespace. It was like, what we're gonna do is if you work here, we're gonna change this from Younis Law Group to put, his firm's law firm. I don't want to put him on blast. Yeah. And when he said that, I was like, that rubbed me off the wrong way because he wasn't going to compensate me for it. It was just all the work I put in, he was just going to take it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? These 40, 50 G's, I know I can do it by myself.
Yes, yeah.
Doing it alone, maybe working half the time this guy's going to make me work.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, from there, I never looked back.
So it sounded like you had some beliefs, but you overcame them. You thought it's not as difficult as it appears to be your own boss, to make that money instead of working for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, in law school, they train you to just get that job. Network to get that job.
Yeah.
They don't train you to be an entrepreneur.
They
don't at all.
Yeah.
So they don't push you to do that. And, I went to Chicago Kent Law School, and they had like an incubator program.
Yeah.
Where they would help you, like if you decided to open up your firm with some limited resources and like some office space. But I was grateful for that. But that's something they should push more in law school. But like I said, most people go out and do they go to get a job.
Yes,
right? And then they would never think about opening up their own firm.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I see that definitely. Law school is probably more about training the law part, not the entrepreneurial part. Same with other fields like medical school, dental school. They're not training you on how to become an entrepreneur in those areas. They're training you in those subject matter. So yeah, definitely. And I think that they probably push more employment because to benefit law firms, right? Like law firms probably need those
Exactly.
employees, so they're not gonna plant the ideas of becoming your own boss. They need the employees, rather.
Right. The wheels got to turn,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
they got to keep that system going.
Yeah. Yep.
And if they're teaching you how to become your own boss, I mean, that's not good for the system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's really the main reason. And then entrepreneurial background.
Mhm.
Sadie,
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
a business background. Your family
Yes,
does.
yep.
Same here.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, my dad would push me too. He's like, well, just do your own thing. And nice as a lawyer, it's not like your doctor where you need to spend, so much on equipment.
Yep. Yeah.
I needed a laptop and maybe a printer. And
Yeah,
go,
right.
So
And a suit.
that's honestly, yeah. So it doesn't cost that much to open
Yeah.
up your own practice. I mean, today the space I'm in, it's like a shared space.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep your expenses low,
Yeah.
it's manageable. It all comes down to your, personality and if you're, a go-getter and going out there and networking and try to earn your own business. I'm grateful. I also speak Arabic.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's a big
Arabic,
deal,
being
yeah.
in the south suburbs where there's a large Arabic-speaking community,
Yeah.
that, Sadie.
Yeah.
We both speak Arabic.
Right.
You got to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like maybe I would say 40% of my clients
Mhm.
are Arabic-speaking, and they come to me because I speak Arabic.
Okay. Wow.
So I leverage that, right?
What do you think are the most difficult parts of running your own business?
You never know. I mean, the biggest thing is you never know from month to month
Mhm.
what your revenue is going to be, right? It's not like a job, you're going to get your salary.
Mhm.
Nothing's guaranteed. Things will come. I mean, there's days where you're swamped and,
Mhm.
nobody can, there's no resources to share that workload. It's just
Right.
you. You got to take care of it. I have an assistant
Mhm.
that helps me out. She's wonderful. But like, I mean, it's just the two of us. We have to manage it every day.
Right.
Right. And so not having any resources or not everything falling on you is probably the hardest part.
Mhm.
And then also the like I said, you don't know every month what your revenue is going to be. There's great months and there's months where you're like, oh my God. So you have to be very careful of how you spend your money.
Of course.
And like you may have one good month and the next month is like 10% of that, and you're like, oh my God, how am I? So you have to be very cost sensitive. You have to save your money,
Mhm.
right? Because you never know.
Right.
So I mean, that's kind of the scariest part,
Yeah. Not only is your pay not guaranteed, but you have to guarantee someone else's pay.
right?
So even if there's no business coming in, you still have to keep paying your assistant and other staff, other people that you have.
Yeah, I mean, the first 4 years I was alone,
Yeah.
and I didn't have help, and I think I was going through like a mild depression.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if I didn't get that help, I mean, there was no way I would be where I'm at now, because there's only so much you can do.
Mhm.
I was doing the billing, I was doing the mailing, I was doing like the little
Yeah.
admin stuff that
Yeah.
it kept me from getting new business, right? And just exploring and doing stuff like this, meeting
Right.
you and meeting other, professionals and networking. I couldn't do it.
Definitely, it's a lesson in business, right? Time versus money. Like
Yeah.
your as a business owner, your time is more important, and then going out and finding new clients and new partners and new potential joint ventures is more lucrative than doing the administrative parts. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, definitely. Now, so the audience knows, you were my closing attorney when we bought our
Right.
home, and thank you for your help, by the way, on that.
Of course.
So when we bought our first home, like many other first-time homeowners, we had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know we were supposed to go to a closing place and meet with an attorney. I didn't know any of that needed to take place. So it would have been nice to know about some things prior to closing. Now, for the audience listening, what are some things that one could know, like prepare for or like research before closing on a property?
So we don't get involved as an attorney until after the contract has been fully executed between
Okay.
the buyer and the seller.
Okay.
So I'm trying to remember your transactions like every other one.
Yeah.
So you bought your house, your
Mhm.
first time. I think we were
Yes.
first time home buyer, right?
Correct.
So usually the realtor is a pretty good referral source for us.
Mhm.
They usually will say, hey, you should work with Omar. He's great, or whatever other attorney, real estate attorney. But once the contract has been executed, that's usually sent to our office. We'll docket the necessary contingency dates, because the contract has contingency dates, like loan contingency dates. That you have to get HOA documents by a certain time. The seller, and if they don't approve them, you can cancel. And there's contingencies about getting clear title. The seller has to provide clear title at closing. There's many other contingency dates, so that's where we come in line. See, in Chicago Metro, they use attorneys in residential transactions,
Right.
but apparently in many other metros and other states, they don't use them. So they rely really on the realtor a lot. Now, they're not lawyers. They're great.
Yeah.
But I think what's nice in the Chicago Metro is honestly, for what we get paid,
Yeah.
it's so worth having an attorney on your side. I would never recommend going into any transactions without that. Like our office, we don't even charge a fee if you don't close.
Okay.
So it's it's usually a flat fee at closing. We only charge if you close, and it's worth every penny having us on your side, right? We know the intricate, we memorize this contract. We know what to expect. We'll be with you at closing, explaining every loan doc that I've seen hundreds of times,
Right.
So having us on your side I think is a huge benefit. And being in the Chicago Metro, you're going to almost have that automatically.
Right. And then specifically when the down, like nowadays with the home prices and the down payments, like if you're putting down, $70,000-$80,000 down to add another, $700, whatever, $800, whatever your fees are on top of that, it's not
Chicken scratch. It's really nothing,
right? It's not going to really affect you financially, that big of a deal compared to the down payment, and of course, even more importantly, compared to the overall price of the home you're buying and getting the legal help behind it.
Yeah, and I never understood why some people would start. People will call me and try to reduce, discount my fee by $50 or $100. But bro, you're buying a $400,000-$500,000 house.
Exactly.
What are you asking me now? We'll help people out here and there, but it makes no sense to me. You don't ask your lender to reduce their origination fees.
Of course, yeah.
But hey, we're the ones on your side at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. As much as we love our realtors, we love our lenders. There's nobody who has to have they have a duty of zealously advocating for your client,
right,
like an attorney does. Right. We're not gonna. We only take our small fee.
Yeah.
Our office, like I said, don't charge unless we close. So having them on your side is huge. And like you said, there's so much money at stake. It's the biggest investment you're making.
Right. For the average person, their home is a significant part of the net worth. Sometimes even 50 to 60% of the net worth is their home. So
right.
Yeah, if I were in the client shoes, I would definitely always use an attorney. Hypothetically speaking, you could, right? But you probably don't recommend that at all.
Right, you don't have to use us.
Yeah.
Maybe, there's some, I would imagine maybe if you're an investor or something that you've seen this many times, but even them, they still rely on attorneys. If I'm an attorney and if I dealt with, I needed injury attorney. I'd go to an attorney, even though I'm an attorney, because they know they practice that area and they know the intricacies of that law, and I would trust them, but.
Yeah, and an important lesson of entrepreneurship, right? Niching down, being an expert in an area, and you're an expert in real estate law. So that helps you do things faster than an attorney that's not an expert in real estate. And then vice versa, like you said, doing personal injury, you'd have to learn the law, you'd have to go through the cases, right? And then that's going to take time. Instead, you could just outsource that or delegate that to another attorney that can help you. Now, speaking of attorneys and realtors, there's been something happening kind of crazy right now in the industry, right? The NAR settlement, the National Association of Realtors just settled, right? That's what happened. Do you mind breaking that down and kind of explaining what happened and what does it mean?
So, I'm no expert in this, but from what I've been hearing, what I've been reading, that the NAR is the National Association of Realtors. They just settled a class action lawsuit of homeowners, basically alleging that there was, I guess, it was an antitrust lawsuit. So basically saying there was some kind of monopoly, that you guys all fixed the pricing and that we had to pay 6% commission to their agents. And now NAR settled the lawsuit, and some of the terms of that lawsuit, from what I understand, is that biggest thing was unlinking the commission. So they want to see, I guess, both sides. So the seller would pay their commission. The sellers traditionally now. The seller pays let's say average 6%. That's usually split equally between the seller and the buyer's agent. Okay. Right. That's just an average, and it's an hypothetical, and not every deal's that way.
Yes.
But now I guess after this a NAR lawsuit, the buyer is going to pay a portion of the buyer's going to pay their agent and the seller's going to pay their agent.
Okay.
So it's unlinking.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
The commission. And another big thing is, I guess in the MLS now, traditionally, people they were alleging in the class action that they were steering.
Mm-hmm.
The agents would steer their clients to certain homes that would pay more commission.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
2.5 instead of 2
Okay.
or 3. So now that is no longer going to be an MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this plays out. And I think there's rumors out there saying that, hey, this is going to maybe there's going to be less agents who have work, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be bad for the buyer's agents.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, as an attorney, realtors are so invaluable. Like a good realtor that knows their stuff. We will work with good realtors. We work with bad realtors. A good realtor is honestly like they are so helpful in the deal. And we're an attorney. We could only handle so much. We're not there with you when you open your house and they're showing you the house. And a good agent is worth every penny.
Okay.
But there's a lot of bad agents out there. Let's be honest. And maybe this will help clean up. Maybe to clean up the market and there'll be less of that. So we'll see how this plays out. And I think it comes. I think the settlement goes in effect in July.
Okay.
So it's coming in 2 months. Part of me thinks it's going to be business as usual, just structured differently.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll have to play out, and it has to play out, and we'll have to see. Does this make us as attorneys busier because now buyers are going to rely on us more? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious too to find out. I think I was also reading on it too, and it seemed like one of the also changes was one of the things that changed as well was there has to be an agreement now. Like before, like you could just meet with a realtor if you were buying, and then they could just show you a home. But now there has to be a little bit more formalities. Like you need an agreement, and then another thing too is there has to be a compensation choice or structure where the buyer. This is what I'm reading, so don't quote me on this. But like if you're meeting with the buyer before, it was already kind of assumed like the buying agent gets 50% of whatever the seller or whatever they agree upon. But now it has to be kind of more transparent. It has to be outlined, and then there has to be some sort of choices for the client.
Right. And I think about the buyer agency agreement. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have been already using that, but I think now that it's just going to be formality, like they have to do it. It's by law.
Okay.
So they have to have buyer agency agreements. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with like buyers knowing how their seller or their agents are getting paid. I don't think that's a problem. I don't see this becoming a problem.
Okay.
Especially for good agents. Okay. Like, they already provide a good service. It's just going to be a little bit more transparent now. So your client knows there's really nothing free going on here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you bought a house and your agent, how'd you expect your agent to get paid?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Some people don't know that.
It was more work for the buying agent than it is usually for the selling agent.
Yeah, it depends, right? Yeah. But they're the ones opening the doors and showing you and driving around and paying for their gas and all that stuff. So I guess I don't know how this is going to change overall, but maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think things will stay somewhat the same. I don't anticipate this being a big change to the industry.
Yeah, and another thing I heard too is that they can't say their services are free. Like the buying agent can't say that unless it's actually free, of course.
Right.
But now they have to. That goes in with the compensation thing too.
Right. Because I think this falls back on the realtors. I don't think they saw. Some of them weren't that super transparent. They didn't tell them what their value was. You got to say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to get paid from, as a commission from the seller, and this is what I get paid. And this is the services I provide. I think a lot of times growing up, my dad was a broker in like 2008.
Yeah.
Right. He's not a broker anymore. Yeah. But like I remember, like especially in our community. Yeah. They weren't. I don't remember him being super transparent how you get paid. They just take. Okay, my uncle's gonna buy a house, and I'm gonna go with my uncle, and because my uncle's gonna buy a house, I'm gonna show him the house and get that commission. It wasn't like super transparent. I think it's going to become, if this helps the industry become more professional, I think I'm all for it. But like people saying this is going to put agents out of work, I do not see that. Like I said, they're an invaluable service. We need them. And so we'll see. I think it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're recording this podcast, we're at a title company, right? And then we have to go through the same, like many others, we have to go through a title company to close. Now, what does that mean? Like, what does a title company do? What's happening in the background while you're closing on your home?
So a title company in Illinois, and I think this is different in other states, but let's say in Illinois, and like especially in the Chicago metro, the title company will provide the title insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that, and then they'll also perform the transaction of the closing.
Okay.
Right. So they'll the escrow company.
Okay.
They'll hold the money that the lender sends.
Yeah.
Let's say the money the buyer sends for the benefit of the parties, and then close and disperse that transaction. Right.
Okay.
They take a fee for that, obviously.
Okay.
Owner's title insurance, I mean, is key because a buyer will never buy a property without seller paying for an owner's title insurance policy or obtaining that.
Okay.
So owner's title insurance policy is basically making sure there's clean title. So they'll do a big deep dive into the history, the chain of title. We call it the chain of title. Look and see who's the proper owner. Look and see any recorded liens on the property and clearing those up. Once those are cleared, usually a lawyer is involved with that, and then you'll get a final owner's title insurance policy. So basically, if somebody was to come tomorrow, like the house you bought,
Yeah.
right, the seller paid for an owner's title insurance policy.
Okay.
If some random person came out of the blue and said, "Hey, that was my house,"
Yeah.
you can go back and file a claim
Okay.
with that insurance policy. So that'll cover the amount of the purchase price. So yeah.
Okay, so there's
That
the
makes
title
sense.
insurance, the transaction, the escrow. Okay, that makes sense. Now let's move into some other things that you do, and I think this is kind of really interesting from a financial planning standpoint, right? There's like we talk about taxes a lot on our podcast and a lot with clients, but this is a kind of a unique tax. It's a property tax. So I didn't know this until recently, but you could actually appeal property taxes and then have them reduced both on the residential side as well as the commercial side. Can you break that down? Like, what does it mean to, reduce or mitigate your property tax, and like, how does that work, that process?
So again, in Chicago Metro, in Cook County, the county will reassess the property every 3 years. So what does that mean, reassess? So part of your tax bill, a portion of it, is portion of how they come up with that tax bill is the county has to assess your property. See, what's your property worth, right? So they give it a fair market value, what it's worth for fair market value. So if somebody was going to buy it today, they multiply that. Like let's say in Cook County, it's 10% of whatever the fair market value. That's the assessed value. That assessed value changes every 3 years depending on what part of the county you are in. Like we're now in, I think this is DePage, but south suburbs were just reassessed last year in 23. Now I believe it's the city in 24. So that assessed value has a direct impact on your tax bill. Okay. After COVID, we all know that real estate values have gone up. Yeah. And we saw in the south suburbs, on residential and commercial assessed values increase like double and triple. Yeah. So if your tax bill was $10,000, it can go up to, I've seen it go up assessed value like 2 or 3 times, which have a direct impact on your tax bill. Now there's other portions, other factors that go into your tax bill, like the tax rate and something called an equalizer, which I'm not going to go into. It's so confusing. But that assessed value. So what we do when it comes to appealing is, like I said, my office does tax appeals as well, residential and commercial. What we do is we try to fight that assessed value, we challenge that. So we go up to the county, and that happens usually. There's like a small window to submit these appeals, so you have to be very careful. You have to be very cognizant of when to file those appeals. But we'll fight those assessed values, try to get them lower, because that lower assessed value will help result in a lower tax bill. Okay. Right. And if you're not monitoring this, sometimes it's too late. We always have clients call us when it's just too late. You have to file within those 35-day window. Oh, wow, okay. You have 35 days to appeal at the assessor office, which is the first level. Then if you're not happy there, you continue to the Cook County Board of Review. And then you can continue to the Property Tax Appeal Board, which is at the state level, or you can go to court. And the other counties are kind of similar as well. But the way they structure the tax bill is a bit differently. Let's say in DuPage County, every property, whether it's commercial or residential, is assessed at a third of the fair market value. Where in Cook County, residential is 10%, and then commercial is 25%. So what we do, the biggest thing you have to monitor is when you get that assessment notice, always try to fight those assessed values, because you have nothing to lose to do it. We don't charge a fee unless you reduce it. You don't have to go through an attorney. But you always should be trying to fight that assessed value. Usually a lot of the counties do not charge a fee for you to file an appeal. It's free. So you always got to be on top of it, because, you know, if you let it neglect, like, I mean, I know clients who their assessed value have increased like 4 or 5 times and never appealed. And when you go back and try to appeal it, it's kind of more difficult. So if you stay on top of it, I feel like it's easier to keep that lower. Like incremental increases instead of one big one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, like you mentioned, it's there's virtually no risk to apply. It's not like you have to pay money. And then typically the way it works with attorneys is they usually take like a third or whatever they can save.
A percentage.
Of
the percentage of the savings.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so then that just translates to more savings for the client. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that, again, from a financial planning perspective, you always want to try to save, especially in the tax part, because that's a significant part of your income that goes to taxes. And then even after that, the property taxes. So and the deduction for that is not that helpful, the property tax deduction on your taxes. So it helps there.
You mean your income tax?
Yeah, income tax, exactly.
Like is it 10,000 now?
Yeah, the SALT.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They have like a cap. I think it's like 10,000 a year. So it's not even that big of a deal. And that's all the taxes. So yeah, it makes sense. And is it the same process for commercial as it is for residential?
Yeah, commercial it's the same process, but there's more that goes into it, because there's if it's a rental property, then you have to get rent rolls and leases, and if it's vacant, it has a factor on your appeal. And generally with commercial, you need an appraisal, at least in Cook County and probably other counties. So it gets a little bit more costly, because then you got to pay for an appraisal, and some people don't want to pay for that, but unfortunately you just need it. Yeah, I feel like anytime you add in the difference between commercial and in any way, really, when you differentiate residential versus commercial is typically going to be more costly, more steps, more. There's just more things going to happen in commercial. Right, because it's not as straightforward as a residential, where you're just submitting. What we do is comparables. We just search your neighbor's property and see what their value is versus yours. So commercial is a lot different. You have to hire a professional appraiser to really sit there and value and take into account all the moving parts. And then when you do appeal, is there like an average success rate? Like if 100 people did it within the time frame you mentioned and they followed the steps, is it like almost like guaranteed to happen? Or no, there's never guaranteed. It's so weird. I mean, we'll do our best. We submit the comparables. We make our argument. And I've seen it where, you know, I thought I had a great slam dunk appeal where there's no change. And I've seen cases where I didn't think there would be a successful reduction, and there was a significant one. Honestly, it's at the end of the day, we're at the mercy of the county, and we just try to submit the best evidence we can. I don't think there's a rate. There's not a significant, I don't think that I can say there's a significant rate. There is data out there where that's more significant. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's certain townships, certain areas where taxes are higher, where they try to help out a little bit, where I see a little higher success ratio, maybe especially in those areas like the south suburbs, like townships like Calumet and Thornton, where even though the assessed values are not that high, but the tax rates are so high. That's right. Every penny, or every like reduction in assessed value is going to have a huge impact on your tax bill. So maybe those areas, but generally I don't see. I can't tell you right now what's the successful right now. You don't have. There's nothing guaranteed. Okay, that makes sense. So always try though. Like, at least always try. Always try. You have nothing to lose. Especially if you're a residential. Now commercial, you have no choice, because if your tax bill is going to go up 3 times because your value, like I've clients where they bought their properties just 10 years ago, and commercial property was at $30,000 a year taxes, and it's jumped up to $150,000. So if you don't fight that, you're risk at losing that property, right? You know, you can tax and get it sold, and that's a whole other thing. But you have to stay on top of it and challenge, especially in Illinois where we have a high tax bill. Exactly. So Omar, what's next for you? Like, what's next for your business, for you? Where do you see yourself in the next 10, 15 years? I know we kind of went over this before the podcast. I don't know. I mean, I think I'd always be involved in real estate at some point. I'd always still be a law. You know, I like practicing law. It'll be something 10, 15 years. I mean, it's not like I'm going to retire in 10, 15 years. But I'd like to see myself maybe owning some rental properties, stay involved in the real estate, still have my practice open. But no, I don't think I've thought that far out. But I do want to get into some real estate investing and try to grow my practice. But I don't see myself changing any kind of areas of law we're doing. I love real estate. I like to help people with their property taxes. I think it's a niche. I think we all are affected by it. So I like to see, but to help the people, but especially with their tax bills and people buying and selling homes, I think it's an awesome experience. When I saw you guys buy, I mean, it's first time home buyers. It's such a cool, like I get to sit with people,
for sure,
meet cool people. So like, you know, even though there's times where there's times where it's super stressful owning your own practice, but I think just being at closings and seeing people happy, it's cool. You know, I like it.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, it leads to, you know, you owning real estate, right? That's a goal of yours. We talked about that. You want to own your own real estate, earn passive income. And I think that's a big deal. Like not always having to work actively for income, but rather you have passive income coming in. So I think that's definitely, you know, you're in the right industry for sure. And you're specifically, you know, you're involved in closing and property taxes and giving real estate law advice. So you're in that industry and you're seeing a lot of things. So that's definitely going to open the door when you start your passive real estate business.
Yeah, for sure. I think it exposes me to those people and those network. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So Omar, it was awesome having you on the podcast. How can listeners connect with you and learn more about you?
So they can reach me at on Instagram, Younis Law. I think my _ Younis Law is my Instagram page. You guys can give my email. That's oy@eunislawgroup.com. Younis Law Group. You guys can find me on Google with all my information. Call my office, you know, and then connect that way. Yeah, Facebook.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks for being on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you grow more wealth, please visit www.finassetprotection.com. That's FIN assetprotection.com. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purposes of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.